So this video is for GCSE Business Studies, and it's looking at operations, and it's looking at a certain type of production process which is known as flow production. So flow production, it's also known as continuous production. It enables a product to be created in a series of stages on an assembly line. So it's defined by the continuous movement of items through the production process. So large numbers of the same good, so they're often standardized, they're often homogeneous. They'll go through different stages on that assembly line. Now, usually it's pretty capital intensive, as you can see from the videos. So a heavy use of technology. And what this video will do is it'll literally look at the benefits, the reasons why companies use flow production, and the reasons why it might be problematic. So as I mentioned earlier, the definition, it enables products to be created in a series of stages on an assembly line. So it's really important to consider what is an assembly line and how a product goes through those different stages on that assembly line until it's a finished product. So the continuous movement of these items going through this production process is what makes it a flow production. So when we're going to look at the benefits of flow production, first of all, let's consider the production line itself. Because it's continuous and the heavy use of technology and capital as well, it allows for a large volume of output. And that large volume of output is produced on this assembly line fast, and it's mass production. Other benefits include the achievement of economies of scale, because clearly if they're able to produce such large volumes of output and it's fast and it's continuous and it's mass production, it's the use of technology, then it helps to obviously increase their productivity. Now, by increasing their productivity, they're able to increase output to a standard which possibly they were not able to previously in that same time frame. So what we've got is the reduction of average unit costs at the same time as output is increasing. So we can see their long run average costs falling even though output is increasing. And because they're able to produce such large volumes of units, and they're able to use technology which is so effective, they're also able to buy in bulk and get larger quantities of materials and raw materials, because they know that they'll use them very quickly because they're producing such large volumes of output. Also, with regards to the benefits of flow production, it also helps to facilitate division of labour, which again helps to increase productivity. So it's not just the capital that helps to increase productivity, but it's also their use of labour. Now, the labour will probably be at the same stage of production and at a certain stage in the assembly line where they're focusing on maybe using the equipment, using the machinery, making sure it continuously goes through the production line. And because they're at that same stage of production, they become specialists at that stage, and therefore they're able to effectively work and produce more and contribute towards that capital, and again help to achieve those large volumes of output. It does come with some problems though. It does come with some issues. And some of the problems with flow production include, first of all, because there is a heavy use of capital, there is that initial investment for capital that is required, and that can be very expensive. But you do have to think about the short term versus the long term. And yes, they might be expensive in the short term, but they are very, very cost effective in the long term, especially with the achievement of economies of scale. Another issue could be motivational problems. Because we've talked about division of labour, and we've talked about where workers are probably at the same stage of production on the assembly line, working on that same stage day in, day out, sometimes that task can become very tedious and it demotivates the worker. And therefore, that tedious nature of flow production can sometimes demotivate workers, and it might actually be counterproductive. So even though we just talked about increasing productivity through division of labour, you do have to consider that in some cases, especially if it's over time, that actually workers might start to become demotivated because of the repetitiveness of that task. Another issue is that it can be less flexible when considering customer demands. So when you're thinking about other production processes, so for example job production, where you are literally producing that product from the start to the finish based on exactly what the customer wants, and you can personalise it towards those customer needs. They are bespoke products, but with flow production, that's harder to achieve because of the standardised nature of the production line. and all the same standardized and homogeneous products being put on that production line, going through the different stages, and therefore it reduces the ability to be flexible. They can still try to be flexible if they need to, but it'll never be as flexible and as personalized as another production process such as job production.